Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about 3 ways you can get better shots when it's not, golden hour. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Zummavid Gallery. I just recently got back from a super fun trip with my family, my wife and daughter this time, to the San Juan Mountains of Colorado. They're in the southwest, west-southwest part of the state, and they're probably most famous for Telluride. You've probably heard of the town of Telluride, and we were in Telluride for part of the time. We also were in Ouray and Ridgeway area, so kind of those 3 towns right along there. And the point of the trip was to go down and have fun, and to take some, photos as I could along the way. So we actually shot a fun little vlog while we were down there of a hike that we did, and I'm actually going to jump into that footage right now. So, the title of this vlog, Emily says, is going to be, we have to get our baby into the wilderness somehow.
Into nature somehow.
Into nature. This is Emily and Ren. We are down in the San Juan Mountains, not too far from Ridgeway, Colorado, is what we're closest to. And we had a fun day yesterday, I would say.
Oh yeah.
Of exploring mostly Telluride and the area around there. So this is just going to be us enjoying this super gentle, easy winter trail, getting our baby out into nature somehow. So you may be able to see that I'm now covered in snow because I said something snarky and got a snowball to the face that she claims.
What do I claim?
You claimed that you didn't know your aim would be that good.
Because it isn't normally.
Now she's gonna throw another one.
On your Zummavid channel, if you did a baby gear review, you would get so many more subscribers. I think you underestimate moms and dads trying to find good gear for their kids to get out in the snow.
Did you hear that? You need to leave a comment if you want an in-depth review of all of this baby gear that Ren is wearing. Although I feel like Ren is the one who needs to give the review.
Oh, that's true.
What do you think, Ren? What are the pros and cons of your backpack as you're going to sleep?
That's a pro.
She can go to sleep.
It is called Kid Comfort, I think.
Ren she passes out when she watches our videos too.
Here we go. Ready, Ren? Expert maneuver. Yeah.
Okay, wow, that was such a fun little hike and such a fun trip in general. Like, I take a lot of photo trips, and they generally can be, a lot more intense than that. Normally we're trying to get somewhere by a certain time, or there's a hard hike, or you have to get up super early. And it was just nice to have a more laid back trip where I got to, enjoy time with Emily and Ren, and then, experience so many new things through Ren's eyes. It's just really a lot of fun. But I still got really photos I'm very happy with on this trip, and that's kind of one of what I wanted to really dive in on this video is getting shots at times that aren't traditional landscape photography times, golden hour and sunrise, sunset, and stuff like that. Because when you're traveling and having fun with a 1-year-old, you're not getting up super early in the morning. You're not going for multiple mile hikes. You're not doing a lot of those things that you normally do to get the landscape shots that you think of. So, and it's so fun to get out into the mountains and shoot, and you can still get great photos at other times of day. Sometimes you have to be a little more deliberate and kind of focus on certain things, and that's what I wanted to kind of give you is 3 tips that I've found that are really helpful for getting better shots kind of in the middle of the day. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to jump in Lightroom, and we're going to cover those tips. Okay, so with this first image, I'm going to talk about my first tip, which is to play with contrast and luminosity. So one of the things I really like about this image is obviously the sun is high in the sky. So what I wanted to do was create a very high contrast image. Now, a tip for exposing and kind of figuring out what you want with the high contrast image is to go ahead and change your creative style or your camera profile or whatever it is to one of the more creative options, black and white or dramatic or high contrast or something like that, so that when you're looking through the viewfinder of your mirrorless camera, this really only works with mirrorless cameras, unfortunately. Your DSLR, you can do it on the back screen, but it doesn't work the same way. But with a mirrorless camera, like I was using the Nikon Z7 II on this trip, and I actually changed the camera profile to dramatic, which is like this very, very low saturation, high contrast picture profile that I actually really like. It's a kind of a nice, it's more of a starting place as far as editing. I wouldn't kind of have that be my final edit necessarily, the JPEGs, kind of like some people do with Fuji. I wouldn't necessarily do that, but it's really helpful to look through the viewfinder and see this very dramatic, high contrast image. And this image was taken that way. So I kind of knew how to expose, I messed with my exposure till I kind of got it looking, through my viewfinder approximately what my vision was. And then I kind of played with the composition until I honed in. And so really it's kind of a simple image that kind of focuses on the sunlight, the harsh sunlight hitting the slopes of Mount Wilson here. And I really like the way it turned out. It's very dramatic. It's not overly complicated. I was using the 7200. I like the texture down here with the snow on the trees, kind of in this foreground area, kind of transitioning to these very high contrast slopes. And you have everything from kind of deep shadows down here in the trees to like almost clipped slopes to kind of the shade of the north face here. And you have this little bit of wind blowing snow off the summit. At least that's what I think it was. It could have been a tiny cloud, but what I think it was wind blowing was snow off the summit. So this is an example of just using contrast, and I lowered the luminosity of the blue in the sky to add even more contrast. So obviously it was a blue sky, pretty clear day, but I lowered the luminosity of that blue and then kind of gave it a slight color grade to give it almost a silver teal look, just barely there. And I just kind of play with it and have fun with both the shooting and the editing of images like that. So that brings me to my next image here, which also is utilizing a lot of contrast, obviously. And then I also like that the sun coming and hitting this clouds creates kind of a softbox effect over on the right here, which I would say is kind of playing with that luminosity. But my next tip is to play and have fun with composition and kind of use it as an opportunity to simplify and experiment and figure out compositions that work. So, you may get great images now, and then also in those really dramatic, colorful times, like in golden hour, you will have some practice on creative and interesting compositions. And for me, that's kind of what I like about this image. Is I like the tension here between these two mountains. It's almost like they're facing away from each other, and it kind of creates this dramatic tension. And then you have the clouds and the high contrast. And to me, like, tension in composition is something that's kind of an underrated, underutilized. Oftentimes when we think composition, we like to have everything kind of play together and flow into each other and leading lines, and tension can be just as strong. And to me, that's what's going on in this image. I kind of feel that tension between these two mountains. Both the summits are interestingly in shadow. And I think this is Wolcott Mountain. I'm not sure what this is, I love the texture of the light, just, going from everywhere, from these kind of hot spots right in the middle to, the more filtered light over here on this mountain on the right. So this was kind of a fun image to shoot. Obviously it's telephoto. Almost everything in here, I think everything in here is telephoto. And that's another bonus tip, is that telephoto shots to emphasize details or to kind of simplify your composition, and telephotos are great for that, is to simplify your overall shot. And so that's a little bonus tip. That wasn't one of the main tips. I have a couple of other ones here. This one of mirrors taking a couple of minutes later. And now this one you may look at it as cheating a little bit, because the conditions actually wound up being super great. So, what I would encourage you to do is keep your camera handy, just in case you do get some interesting conditions in the middle of the day. Like, this shot was taken at 11:13 a.m. So that is not your traditional, setting up on your tripod and, getting the great shot. This was I had my camera, my wife was holding it in the seat next to me, pull over and kind of zoom in and shoot, and then got lucky that the summit broke through these clouds that were kind of rolling through. We actually, when we arrived the night before in Ouray, there was a little snowstorm that night, unforecast snowstorm, which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody who actually lives in Colorado, and snowed a couple inches and then kind of lingered around for the morning. And this was kind of the last couple minutes of the clouds before it really cleared out for the rest of the trip. But, I got lucky and got this, but it's kind of again, I love the contrast. I shot it in that dramatic profile so that I knew I was kind of getting my exposure right, and kind of, got this creative feeling when I was shooting, and was able to bring it in and edit. And all of these kind of a very similar, actually all of these images are almost like a series where they're similar. So, we have experiment with play, if you will, with contrast and luminosity, play with composition, have fun with composition, and then finally, and this one's going to be, some of you may think this is cheating, some of you may think it's corny, but I actually think it's really important, is to shoot what you love and love what you shoot. And what I mean by that is that use it as an opportunity to get out and kind of shoot what you are drawn to and what you're interested in and what you love. I think we sometimes get so distracted with, getting to a place that's super idyllic and idyllic conditions. And, honestly, I love just photographing the mountains and all the different things that they do. And I look at this last image here. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was taken at 3 in the afternoon, 2:59. So the sun was high, and I love this spot. It's near Telluride, and we went and spent the day in Telluride, and then on our way out, we drove into this little road, which was thankfully not super snowed out. And, I shot from this spot, and, I feel like the energy that I bring from just loving to photograph the mountains comes in, and it kind of shows in this shot. And, I edited a certain way, kind of like I said, kind of like a series. And I love the texture of the snow, the sun hitting the snow right here. And I still kind of emphasized the light source, which, in editing, you can kind of do that. You can still emphasize light direction and play with that. I want to encourage you to, really have fun and shoot things that you enjoy. Like, you may not be a mountain landscape photographer like me who just, loves shooting mountains, but there may be some other subject that you love to shoot. And so shoot it at all times of day so that you can experiment and find different ways. And I also think that love that you have, that interest you have, that fascination you have with your subject is going to show in the final images. So I would be more interested in seeing work of someone who's passionate about what they're shooting in non-ideal conditions than someone who knows the mechanics of it, but is just shooting something to get the shot in perfect conditions. Because I feel like there's an energy, there's a passion behind it that shows, and I kind of hope that you can kind of see that energy, that passion behind these shots. And, I just want to encourage you to keep that camera out, shoot all times of day, and, make every trip that you take, a little landscape photography trip. Maybe, this trip down to the San Juans was not all about the sunrise, sunset, hard hikes. It was about having fun and experiencing and introducing, my daughter and having fun with my family to the mountains. And I still got great shots because, I'm passionate about being in that environment and enjoying it. So I have more shots from this trip. I even have I did shoot one. I broke my rule here and shot one sunrise. It wasn't the most spectacular sunrise, but I have a couple shots from it. Those shots, the rest of the shots are going to be, these shots and the rest of those will be in a blog post in the description. If these tips were interesting or helpful to you or encouraging to you, if you could hit the like button, it really does help our channel grow. We're a growing young baby channel, and every little bit helps. And then if you want to see more of mountain content, landscape photography content, and all of that, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next adventure.